Does that make sense? It's important for you to understand this, because later on you might say, I'm confused. I thought you said we have everything. Why do we need to sow now? No, you still need to. You still need to, because that is God's way to materialize. He gives you the power to get wealth. He doesn't give the wealth. He gives you the power to get wealth. The manifestation of that power is your sowing. So when you sow generously, what it tells me is you have a spirit of prosperity. When you sow sparingly, what it tells me is you have a spirit of fear or a spirit of poverty. That's why people sow sparingly. They like to get the hard money. They don't like the soft money. You know, when it's offering time, they like to give the hard money. See, anyway, the soft money, you can tear it. This one you cannot tear. This will last forever until Jesus comes. See, so we'll just give this. It cannot be corrupted. There's baloney, you know, it's a lot of baloney. But the thing is, understand that when you have a spirit of prosperity, when you understand the grace of, that's why you got to go back first to chapter 8 and understand the grace that He already became poor, which means you already were made rich. But until you understand that first in your mind and accept it, believe it, you will not operate that way. You will still come from a spirit of lack, from a spirit of fear. So that's very important to understand. Now, what about the tithe? What is the role of the tithe in the New Testament? We're starting with the sowing. Now we go back and we talk about the tithe. What now is the role of the tithe in the New Testament, NT's New Testament? Okay, for those of you that might be uninitiated by this. Now, for this, to be able to understand this, we need to look at Abraham. Abraham was the first person to tithe in the Bible. Okay, he's the first person to tithe, and in fact, the word tithe comes out only once in Genesis, and it was with Abraham. The Hebrew word, anyway, for tithe, okay, comes out only once in the King James, anyway, in the Hebrew text, in the New Testament. So we need to understand that Abraham learned to do something, even though already God blessed him in Genesis 12, that he was going to be very rich. He still did something that was unprecedented as far as Bible history and Bible records are concerned. There's a story in the Bible where Lot, his nephew, was captured by two kings. Okay, two kings. Lot lived in Sodom. If you remember that story in Genesis, he lived in Sodom. Two kings decided to conquer these two cities, Sodom and Gomorrah. By the way, Sodom and Gomorrah are not husband and wife. Okay, I just want to clarify that. Some people have asked me, by the way, who are Sodom and Gomorrah? Okay, were they married? No, they're cities. Okay, they're cities. Sodom and Gomorrah. I don't know who wants to be Sodom, who wants to be Gomorrah. Either way, you don't want to be them. You know? I can't imagine calling I'm going to name my child Sodom. You know, I'll name the other child Gomorrah. You know? I don't know if you want to do that. I don't suggest you do it, by the way. And these two kings came, and they probably had hundreds, maybe even thousands of people in their army. And because Abraham's nephew was there, he said, I'm going to rescue my nephew. So he gathered his men, homegrown, discipled, trained, mentored by him, 318 men against probably thousands in these two armies. To make a long story short, he won. Abraham won. He was able to redeem or get back Lot and the peoples of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay? And what happened was, something happened in Genesis 14. After he had won, this battle, something happened. There was a man, a king actually, by the name of Melchizedek. Melchizedek is actually Jesus Christ. Okay, it's a theophany. Okay, it's a manifestation of Christ before he became Jesus. Because, well, you'll see it in Hebrews. The thing here is this: he shows up. And what does Abraham do? He tithes. He says, I will give you a tenth of all that I have. He tithes. Understand this. The tithe came before the law. The tithe is part of the covenant of grace. The law included the tithe, yes, because it is a good thing. But just because the tithe is in the law does not make the tithe, if you tithe, bring you back under the law. As a matter of fact, the tithe affirms the covenant of grace, not the covenant of law. But people, preachers of grace, because they don't understand, they say, no, the tithe is under the law, therefore don't need to tithe anymore. No, we are not commanded to tithe. If it's a matter of have to, if you say, for example, do I have to tithe? You're missing the whole point. Because it's not do I have to tithe, you get to tithe. Tithing is a privilege. It's like, for example, when you get married, and you're now in your honeymoon suite, right, in wherever it is you are, you don't say, do I have to kiss my wife? There's something wrong if you have to ask that question. It's not anymore do you have to, you get to. And by the way, for those of you that may not know, you get to do more things than just kiss. Okay? On your honeymoon night. If you need lessons, don't come to me. Okay? Now, see, we have to understand that Abraham, he was already wealthy. He was already very wealthy. And when he saw this Melchizedek, he said, wait, hold on a second. I want to give you a tenth of it. He got all of his accountants. He says, make an accounting of everything I have. Everything I have. I want to bless this man. I want to give him a tenth of all that I have. And this was 400 years before the law. And the Bible says that the law cannot annul the promise. That means just because something was included in the law does not say you don't have to do what's in the promise anymore. See? And again, it's not that you have to tithe, it's you get to tithe. It is a privilege to be able to tithe, but we have to understand why we tithe. See? Watch. In Genesis 14, verses 18 to 20, this is what it says. Bread and wine, that's communion. Talks about communion. He was priest of God Most High, and he blessed Abram, saying, blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand. Then Abraham gave him a tenth of everything. See, he was already blessed. Look at this. Melchizedek said, blessed be Abraham by God Most High. When he understood he was blessed, he tithed. Tithing is a response to the goodness of God in your life. It's not just a duty. I have to tithe. Why? I'm a Christian. If I don't tithe, God might not bless me. If I don't tithe, He might not give me the increase. If I don't tithe, there will be a curse that will come into my home. If I don't tithe, He won't open the floodgates of heaven. No. That's not the point. That's the law. The law says if you don't tithe, you will be cursed. But He said we're no longer under the law. We go back now to the law of grace, or the covenant of grace. And the covenant of grace established the tithe.